Hi, I'm Daniel Martin, and this is our work, A Study of Change Blindness in Immersive Environments. This project is a collaboration between the Graphics and Imaging Lab at Universidad de Zaragoza and Adobe Research. Change blindness is a psychological phenomenon that refers to the human inability to detect changes to an object or scene even when they would appear to be obvious. I'm sure that many of you have played to the Spot the Differences game and have probably been frustrated for being unable to find the last two differences. Indeed, you have probably detected this blueberry that only appears in the left image. But had you detected this other one? And what about this cereal right there? Or these crumbs over there? And these subtle bubbles in the cup of coffee? As you have noticed, it can be really hard to detect certain changes in a scene despite having both versions side to side. But even when the changes are intermittent, it is still very hard to detect them. This thing here is called the flicker paradigm, and it consists of including a short gray flicker between a scene and its modified counterpart. Have you been able to notice any changes? Interestingly, change blindness does not only work for static images. There have been several attempts to show this phenomenon through the last decades. The Whodunit experiment, which you can see on the screen, is a good example of it. I'll try not to spoil it, but it is an exercise of awareness of what is happening in the scene for a few minutes. You can see this change blindness effect even with much more simple setups. The monkey business illusion is another great example where viewers are asked to count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball. They get so focused that they usually miss a gorilla walking across the field. Even if you saw the gorilla, you probably missed that the curtain changed color to orange or that one girl left the scene. This is change blindness. All of these are examples of change blindness, and this effect is influenced by factors such as age or attention. But despite its name referring to a visual issue, a vast body of literature of psychology and cognitive science attribute this effect to limitations in our working memory. It turns out that, given our limited brain's capacity, significant amounts of visual information have to be discarded after being processed. Change blindness has been mostly studied in traditional media, generally following the gray flicker paradigm I mentioned before. However, 3D environments offer experiences much closer to real life, and it has been shown that what we know about traditional environments not necessarily follow in VR. Interestingly, very few works have addressed the phenomenon of change blindness in immersive environments, and they have just focused on applying the phenomenon in some particular scenarios. Therefore, in this work, we present a systematic study of change blindness in immersive environments. We have devised two different experiments. The first of them is devoted to understand how different properties and factors may affect change blindness. On the other hand, the second experiment is devoted to study how many changes can people effectively detect. Let's start with the first one. In this first experiment, we have analyzed the effect of some properties in change blindness. We have analyzed whether the type of change affects detectability, studying additions, removals, relocations, and replacements. For instance, this is an example where we removed a chair from our scene, or another one where we replaced a plant with a lamp. We have also analyzed the distance to the manipulation or the complexity of the manipulated object. Besides, we have studied the effect of having the manipulation inside or outside the field of view. You can find more details in the main document. To conduct this experiment, we have followed two different paradigms. Firstly, some changes occurred when the observers were not looking at them, while others occurred following the flicker paradigm. Within both paradigms, we gave the users up to 45 seconds to select the region where the change happened. Let me show you some results. More than half of the changes remained undetected despite explicitly asking users to look for changes and giving them 45 seconds to explore the scene. We also found that the type of manipulation was not significant, but closer changes, and changes in more complex elements were easier to detect. Intuitively, we also found that people are better in detecting changes that happen in their field of view than those that happen outside, probably because it requires less information to be memorized. Please refer to the main document for more details. Okay, in our second experiment, we aim to detect the maximum capacity of our memory. This is the maximum amount of changes a person is able to detect in the same scene. In this case, following traditional literature, we gave participants 20 seconds to memorize a scene in front of them. And then, after a gray flicker, we showed them the same scene with several changes applied. We gave the participants unlimited time to select all the items that they believed they had changed. We varied the number of total changes in the scene and found that detecting 4 or more changes was strikingly hard, regardless of the number of changes that had actually happened in the scene. This means that even when up to 14 changes were applied to the scene, people were on average unable to detect more than 4, leaving up to 10 of them undetected. This is a simple graph showing how the probability of detecting 4 or more changes in the y-axis variously passes the chance level, the horizontal blue line, regardless of the total amount of changes in the scene, the x-axis. Again, please refer to the main document for more details. To summarize, we have conducted a systematic study of change blindness in immersive environments and have studied a set of parameters and their effect in the phenomenon. Besides, we have analyzed the limitations of our visual working memory. Many exciting lines of research remain open. Studying additional factors or different layouts could improve our understanding of this effect. Besides, exploring how multiple stimuli like auditory cues or different cognitive loads affect this effect remain an interesting avenue. Finally, it could be interesting to explore how this effect could enhance other applications in VR, such as redirected walking. Thank you so much.